Hi, my name is Liz Bowen. I am a realtor and the owner of Red Bow Realty here in beautiful Colorado Springs, Colorado. And in today's video, I want to give you some tips and tricks on how to manage the sale of your current home and the purchase of a new home at the same time. As you can imagine, this can be a stressful situation because you have two deals going on concurrently and things can get confusing. So here are a couple of tips. And the first that I have for you is to get two different colored file folders to manage the paperwork for both of your deals. Many times my clients will take all of the paperwork that has to do with the sale of their home and the purchase of a new home and put them all in the same place. Unfortunately, things get confusing quickly. So it's a much better idea to separate your documents so that you have one in maybe a blue folder that's all about the sale of your current home and one in a yellow folder that's all about the purchase of your new home. I think having this visual separation by using two different colors really helps you keep an eye on where you are in your transactions and keep things separate. Now, a lot of times you'll have documents sent to you via email, so electronic documents. So you can use this same philosophy by creating two different folders in your email, one for the sale of your home and one for your purchase. But just try to keep your documents separated so it's easier for you to find what you're looking for, and it will also help you focus on one transaction separately from another very easily. Now, as you can imagine, communication becomes very important when we're dealing with two different properties closing around the same time. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you are reaching out to your real estate agent and getting those questions answered. Whether it's your agent, whether it's your lender, maybe it's the title company, just make sure that you have open lines of communication and you feel that you're getting the answers to your questions in a timely fashion. But you also want to make sure that you can be very responsive and mentally keep the two transactions separated in your mind. All right, the way that this normally works is that we would put your home on the market first, get you under contract for the sale of your current home, and then go out looking for a home you want to buy. Now, the buying of the home part, it's usually easier to get taken care of than getting you under contract, but the problem is that you'll be making a contingency offer on the purchase of your home, and that's to safeguard you and protect you. When we have a contingency offer on the purchase of a new home, what we're saying is that you are going to be buying this home, but only if you successfully close on the sale of your current home. And since most of the time, folks need the proceeds from the sale of their home to make the purchase, that's definitely the way that we want to go. Unfortunately, for a seller, a contingency offer is kind of a weak offer because that seller is counting on you to do what you're supposed to do, but also for the buyer on your home to do what he or she is supposed to do. So from a negotiating perspective, a contingency offer is not a strong offer, but it makes sense. And many sellers are comfortable and understand that a contingency offer is something they'll need to potentially deal with. Just understand that it may take longer for you to find a home and get under contract for the purchase because you'll be making a contingency offer that may not be as readily approved or accepted by the seller as an offer that wasn't contingent. So if we were going to talk about a perfect case scenario, and this probably isn't going to be you because it doesn't happen very often, but in a perfect world, we would have the sale of your current home completely closed and then start looking on the buy side. But of course, that means that you are homeless or have found some other kind of living arrangement for approximately 30 to 45 days after the close of the sale of your current home. So totally understandable that that's asking a lot. But if you had closed on the sale of your home, you'd already have the proceeds ready to go and you wouldn't be making a contingency offer on the second property. But since we are going to have to manage 2 closings at the same time. I do have another couple of tips for you. If at all possible, we want to schedule the closing of the sale of your home one day before the closing on the purchase of your home. And that's because problems do happen. Things come up. And the buyer of your current home may have a problem that causes you to have to push closing. And you have to have those funds ready to go so that you can close on your purchase. So by at least giving yourself 24 hours between the closing on the sale of your home and the closing on the purchase of your new home, hopefully if things get pushed a little bit, you've got a buffer there that wouldn't keep you from having to also move out the closing date of your purchase. So a 24-hour buffer is certainly advisable. Now, I have done same-day closings, and they usually go on without a hitch. But again, just to be on the safe side, to do some risk mitigation, putting 24 hours between both closings is probably a good idea. Now, another good idea, if at all possible, is to schedule both of your closings with the same title company. Now, if we do that, what we really have is one company that understands what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish, and what any potential complications are. So again, if at all possible, would love to be able to close on both sides of your transactions with the same title company. Okay, other important things to keep in mind, tips and tricks, would be to make sure that you're as flexible as possible. We know that there are so many things that can go wrong during the real estate transaction, and we now have double the trouble, right? Because we have things that could go wrong on the sale of your current home, as well as things that could go wrong on the purchase of your new home. So I think that talks to a couple of things. Being flexible means being patient and also being kind, taking a deep breath and understanding that troubles will come up, but hopefully you've chosen an outstanding real estate professional who can help you navigate all of the rocky things that are going to come up, potential obstacles, with grace and confidence, right? Okay. I would also tell you not to hire movers or service providers too early on in this process, because you'd hate to have your money tied up or have folks coming on a certain date at a certain time to pack you up and move you if you have a problem and that gets pushed off, right? So I keep talking about issues that could cause your closing to get delayed. When I say pushed off or your transaction pushes, that's really what I'm talking about. It's a delay in your closing. And I would, again, hate for you to have hired movers, secured dates, and been stuck to a rigid schedule when things may need to be a little bit more fluid than that. So another good tip is to consider putting your belongings into a pod or some kind of storage rather than hiring movers to come the day before closing or the weekend before closing, when a potential issue could be that your closing again gets delayed. Now, I think that it's a great idea to start packing up your home as soon as you decide to put it on the market. Usually, the less cluttered a home is, the better it looks in pictures and the easier it is to sell. Besides, you've already decided that you're moving, so might as well just get a move on there, pack your stuff up, and put it off into, again, a pod or some kind of storage. It means that you have a safe place for your belongings, and if anything were to get delayed, you're not stuck with movers who are coming at a specific time on a specific date. Okay, at this point, I have a special guest that I can't wait to introduce to you. She's a good dear friend and a past client who went through this same exact process. So I have with me today Jackie Staples, and Jackie is a past client of mine who went through this experience last year. So last year, Jackie hired me to not only sell her home, but to help her buy a home. And I wanted her to share what lessons she had learned and the things that she thought were important for anybody who'd be going through the same experience.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate you having me on. There was a lot of things that happened when we were buying a home and selling a home at the same time. We chose to sell last year in Colorado Springs because the market was so hot. I wanted to maximize my equity as much as possible. And so we instilled Liz to help us through that process. And there's a lot of things that happen when you're buying and selling a home at the same time. And most times your real estate agent and your mortgage lender will help you along the way just fine. But there's a lot of small things that happen that many people overlook or don't pay attention to that could end up being big things. My number one thing is get an inspection on the house that you're selling before you even list it. For sure. This is a great thing to do for a few reasons. One is because you get a discount. You have to buy an inspection on the house that you're buying. So if you get an inspection on the house that you're selling, you get a discount. It's kind of like a 2-for-1. So if you get that, then you'll be able to see what your buyers are going to see on your house, and you'll be able to prepare yourself better so that there aren't hiccups along the way, because we don't have any time for that because we're on a very short time frame.
Exactly.
So we need to pay attention to that. Secondly, you may see things that are bigger. In my inspection, when I did an inspection on the home I was living in, I was completely unaware that my hail-resistant roof that I had was hail damaged and needed a completely new roof. Wow. Not only that, but it needed all new siding. That was a huge deal for us. Luckily, it ended up being a buyer's bonus because they got to pick what type of roof they wanted, right, and they got to pick what type of siding they wanted. So we were able to sell our house extremely fast. I mean, not only because it was a great market, but we did have those great incentives that we wouldn't have known about had we not done an inspection before we listed our house.
Great.
So that was one reason that you definitely want to look at that and just do your due diligence and have an inspection done on your house. Even if you think your house is absolutely up to par and perfect, let's just make sure for sure and you have it in writing. And also the buyer's inspector might come with an inspection report that didn't have things that were on your list. And so you already have proof of that, and you can provide that to people that are looking to buy even before they buy, so that there's clear transparency. The more you communicate, the better. For sure. Number 2 is cleaning. Oh my gosh. Cleaning. You would think that that's like no-brainer, common sense, but let me tell you, it is not. Yeah. For one, I picked a cleaning company to clean my home that I was selling, and I had to have it done quickly. So I vetted the professional. I looked at Google reviews, Facebook reviews. I asked on Facebook, and I chose someone to clean our house. Unfortunately, they did not clean our house. I paid hundreds of dollars to have a deep cleaning done. So being very specific on what type of cleaning you want. My level of clean may not be the same level of someone else's clean. Right. So being very specific to those things are extremely important. And then, making sure that you really do vet out your professionals. I thought that I did vet out my professionals, but don't pay until you see the finished product. That is what I learned.
Yeah, that's a good lesson.
So that put a little wrench in it, because then we had to take time off work so that we could deep clean our own house, because at that time we weren't able to trust anyone after we had less than par satisfaction. Now, when we were moving into our new house, because the day that we closed on our house, we had our truck loaded, ready to go. So as soon as we got the keys, my husband was in front of the house, ready to go. We went to go move in all of the boxes, and the house was not clean to my standards. And I didn't even think to have that specified in the contract of the details of what that means to actually be clean. Because when I went through the house during the open house, the house was clean. But maybe they didn't clean it or have a professional person clean it 30 days after, so that it was completely spot free when we moved in.
Right.
So those specifics are extremely important. And lastly, don't leave room for any assumptions during this process. We have to rely heavily on the professionals that we're hiring to help us through this, because it's not our industry and we don't know what they're doing and what needs to be done. But that doesn't mean that it's not our responsibility as a buyer and a seller to ask too many questions. The more you know, the smoother the process is going to be. There were things that I wasn't sure on the mortgage side. What did I need to look at for the contingency? What if things were starting to fall through with my buyers and their money didn't come through, and then negotiations would come back of, we need more money for this or less money for this, and things happen. So upfront, transparency with your mortgage lender and your real estate agent are extremely important. And think of every silly question that you can think of and ask them that, so you know. And please remember always that at the end of the day, these are contractual agreements. So if it is not in writing, you cannot get mad at it because you didn't know.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
So it's extremely important that even if in the middle of the night you think of a question, just text the professional. They don't have to respond to you in the middle of the night, but at least your question is heard. Your answer will happen maybe the next day, but you will feel safe and secure in what you're doing. It was one of the best decisions that we've made. I've purchased many homes in my day, but I've never bought and sold a house at the same time. And I was very concerned on doing it because there are so many key factors that go into it. Right. So we really just wanted to make sure that we were making the best move for our family for the long term. Colorado Springs market is a booming market right now, and a lot of people are afraid to move because they think they can't afford the next house, so they want to stay put in their house. Well, I'm a financial advisor, and so I see people's money all the time, and I see the equity in their house. So if you're not in your dream house right now, this is the best time to think about taking the equity from the home that you feel is meh. It's all right. You'll deal with it, right? And getting into your dream home today, because the prices aren't going to get any cheaper in the future. And so if you're planning and sticking around for the next 5 years, would be my personal advice, then this is the best time for you to think about selling your home so that someone else can have their starter home or a home that could be their dream home and you get into yours.
Yeah, great points. Jackie, thank you so much.
Yes, you are welcome.
So appreciate it. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to the viewers about what it's like to actually go through the process of selling and buying your home at the same time. Certainly there's challenges, but if you've got communication, if you're asking all the right questions, you're being really clear about what your expectations are, and you're doing your due diligence ahead of time, it sounds like it's absolutely doable.
Yeah. Completely.
Good.
I'd do it again.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right. I'm going to leave you with one last tip, and that is the importance of contingency planning. Just like in any real estate transaction, it's always good to have a plan B. And when you're dealing with 2 transactions at the same time, having plan Bs ready to go provides you with that peace of mind that lets you know that you've already got an idea on how you're going to handle situations if they were to arise, and will make you feel a lot more at peace. So, for example, if you have pets, for some reason your closing got extended or delayed, is there a hotel close to you where you could stay for a couple of days with your pets? Okay, just a great tip in terms of identifying potential problems and coming up with potential solutions before they even happen. If you need help with contingency planning, your real estate agent should be there to guide you. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, my name is Liz Bowen. I am a realtor and the owner of Red Bow Realty, and what's important to you is important to me.